Under Alien Skies. Written by Philip Plait. Published in April of 2023 by W. Norton and Company. Snippet read by Richard Coombs. When I was a kid, I loved science, and I loved science fiction. I ate up every science book I could get my hands on, especially on astronomy, learning as much as I could about it. And when science didn't have an answer for me, because one didn't exist yet or I couldn't understand it, sci-fi was there to expand my imagination. I would dream of standing on the bridge of a starship. It didn't matter which one, the Enterprise, the Jupiter 2, or any of the vessels created by other dreamers, and watching as stars flew by and other planets approached. What would it be like to look up and see a green sky lit by 3 suns with a dozen moons hanging overhead? Or to pass by a multi-hued glowing nebula as stars formed inside it? Or to fly through a star cluster, the hull of the ship gleaming from the reflected light of a million suns? No, let me correct myself. I didn't dream about it. I ached for it. In a way, I became an astronomer so I could see all these things, so I could travel the universe and take in its wonders, even if only through an eyepiece or via my computer monitor. And also, so I could take others along with me. After I got my PhD in the late 1990s, I began to write and give public talks about astronomy, and I learned there were so many other would-be space travelers longing to get up close and personal with the universe. I'd show some gorgeous image of a nebula or a galaxy, and inevitably people would ask, is that what it would look like if you were there? The answer is almost always, well, it's complicated. How a telescope sees and how you see are 2 different things. Sometimes very different things, and trying to figure out what you'd see if you were actually visiting some cosmic object or another can be difficult. But the question gnawed at me. What would these objects look like up close? The more I thought about it, the more interesting the question became. My day job at the time involved working on Hubble Space Telescope data, and sometimes the images got me wondering about what I was seeing. More than once, I'd be poring over an image of a star field in a nearby galaxy, and the kid part of my brain would take the calm, and in my head, I'd be piloting a starship through those stars, piercing a bright nebula, skimming the outer atmosphere of a red giant. It occurred to me that we knew a lot more science than when I first imagined myself plying the galaxy. Back in my youth, for instance, astronomical images were usually washed out, vaguely colored photos printed in books and newspapers. The images sent back by space probes were low resolution and difficult to interpret. But now I was spending my days awash in incredible ultra-high resolution photos from Hubble. I decided that writing an article about the science married to fiction would be fun, and I pitched the idea to Astronomy magazine. They accepted. The article became Under Alien Skies, featured on the magazine's cover in January of 2003, and it explored the view inside a globular cluster, inside the Orion Nebula, and on a planet orbiting a red dwarf star. I loved writing it. It allowed me to let my scientist brain research, learn, and explain the concepts, all while my kid brain steered. That's more or less been my modus operandi ever since. Talk science, but have fun doing it. I immediately wanted to write more on the topic, but found myself sitting on the idea for years. It was always there, though, and sometimes it pays to wait. As the years passed, new telescopes launched, opening new views and revealing new real science to inform the imaginary vistas in my head. We discovered planets orbiting other suns, and learned more about the mechanics of star clusters. Our probes visited the Moon, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, even tiny frigid Pluto, sending back jaw-dropping images of those worlds. A worldwide scientific collaboration took the first close-up image of a black hole. I couldn't resist any longer. We don't know everything about these distant places, but we knew more. That's the point of science, after all. To learn. Perhaps the day will come when we can travel the solar system on a whim. Perhaps, though this is far less likely, we'll have starships capable of faster-than-light travel, enabling us to ply the vast blackness between the stars. Until then, though, imagination is what we have, but that's not too shabby. Happily, right now, we have centuries of science, math, and astronomical observations we can use to deduce what we'd see and experience if we were to travel the cosmos. We know enough to paint a much clearer picture, and what we don't know, we can make pretty good guesses about. And there's so much to know. It's a big universe with plenty to see. What does it look like under alien skies? Let's find out.